Let's cross to London now. We're joined on the line by the CEO of the South African Chamber of Commerce, David Butler. Good evening to you, David. I'm sure the interest is high. Can you venture what would most South African companies operating in the UK hope for right now?
Good evening. Yes, I think all the South African companies I've talked to are on tenterhooks, to be honest, and most South Africans who are working, whether they're companies operating here in the UK or trading with the UK, are looking very much for a Remain vote, and that's for the British to remain within the European Union. And a lot of that is driven primarily by the economic analysis that's come out of a whole range of different institutions that are talking about the negative impact on GDP and growth for Britain following an exit vote.
David, here in South Africa, some have had to admit that possibly a Brexit could be a good thing in that the UK will lose out possibly on some trade partnerships in the EU. It'll be looking for closer ties with the rest of the world. But I guess it's very different if you're selling agricultural goods to a company really operating in the UK.
Yes, absolutely, and I think the key word that you used in that description is possibly. So, you know, it is a big step into the unknown, and arguably by Britain leaving the European Union, it has the free rein to be able to negotiate trading deals with its closest partners. But one point to bear in mind is that although the UK is the third largest, second or third largest trading partner for South Africa, on the other side, South Africa is only the 27th largest trading partner for the UK from a business perspective. So if you're sitting there and you've got limited resources and you have to very quickly decide who you're going to write trade agreements with and start negotiating, assuming that they're going to be long-term negotiations and suck up resources, then, you know, from a practical perspective, it's highly unlikely that South Africa is going to be right at the top of the list for a renegotiated trade agreement. So then you have to resort to WTO rules, and that takes a lot of time and will have a significant impact.
All right, and we don't know how long it could take. That is another risk. Could you venture which sectors are feeling the biggest stress right now? David, there's talk of financial firms relocating. It's not clear what will happen to the banking system, for example. Who could this affect the most?
Well, you've hit the nail on the head. I think that the biggest casualty will be financial services and associated industry. So that includes fintech, which happens to be a strategic sector both for the DTI in South Africa and the UKTI here in the UK. So when you look at financial services, the size of the institutions sitting in the City of London is driven by it being the centre for euro trading as well, and for financial services trading into the European Union. And, you know, the Euro clearinghouse sits in London. So, you know, one thing that Brexit brings very clearly is the fact that when you talk to stakeholders in Paris and in Frankfurt, they are, although quite clearly none of them want Britain to leave the EU for obvious reasons, if Britain does leave the EU, there is the silver lining to the cloud of a repatriation of significant financial services assets and businesses from London into those two Euro hubs, so to speak. Yeah. So there's an air of trepidation in the City of London because there's going to be a major impact there, and primarily for the big banks that have, as well as international trading and international business directly into the EU that, to a certain extent, funds the rest of the operation.
Okay, so possible impacts for our banks. David, final question for you. Here at home, there's been some criticism of the companies that reorientate, list themselves in London. Some of those listings were done to prevent the currency volatility, the sort of risks. Do you think some of those companies are thinking, oh my word, we didn't see this coming?
I think definitely that there is concern. I think there's a lot of the companies, particularly financial services companies, South African companies that have gone for listings in London, have gone for listings in London because of their expansion strategies, their ambitions to grow internationally, and they felt that it was better to do, as well as the risk side of it. I think both of those are coming under pressure. It's a big step into the unknown. A lot of experts right across the world, across a whole range of different political and business-related institutions, have said that the likely impact is going to be negative. That doesn't mean that they're right or they're all right or they couldn't be wrong, but it does mean it's a big step into the unknown, with a huge amount of downside risk and very possibly an upside in the medium term. I think everybody agrees that in the short term, it's going to have quite a negative impact on every aspect of business here in the UK, apart from those small trading firms that already operate exclusively outside the EU.
All right. David Butler, thank you so much for your time this evening, the CEO of the South African Trade and Commerce body in London, representing South African firms.